Okay, I think I'll make a start, and if people come in, that's fine. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kate Jones. I am an innovation lead on the Strategic Innovation Fund. Thank you for joining us today, and I just want to start with a little bit of housekeeping. This session is recorded, and a link to the recordings and the slides will be shared after the event. Your microphones and cameras have been switched off, but we will have time at the end for some questions, so please do add them into the question box. If we go on to the next slide. So yeah, welcome everybody. This is our final webinar in our Introduction to Energy Network series. These events have been run under the Strategic Innovation Fund, and they've really been about educating people and innovators about the energy network space. And all of these events are recorded and are publicly available, so I would definitely encourage you to watch the series at your leisure. Today's events are aimed at innovators and SMEs, and we've really got some useful insights for you, and we hope that they will help you develop your ideas and businesses further. I just had a quick comment about nobody seeing the slides. Can we give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides? Okay, we've got a couple of hands up there, so hopefully it's just a connection issue. Thank you. Okay, so the plan for today is we'll take you through some of the funding landscapes and some of the services that are available to you. Before I get into it, I do just want to thank all the speakers that are participating today, as well as my colleagues in the innovation team at Innovate UK and Carbon Trust. And if we flip 2 slides on, please. Thanks. So I'm sure a ton of you on this call are familiar with this document. This is the Net Zero Strategy. It focuses on the ambitions and actions for sectors to decarbonise so that we can meet those 2050 targets. Now, each of the sectors have their own funding support, and those funding for innovation drive different innovation needs. But it's very clear that power and hydrogen do cut across many on all of those sectors. So I believe that we need, in order for us to achieve net zero, we have to start coordinating efforts and knowledge and work together to achieve those targets. In the energy sector, working together on this, we call that whole system thinking. That's when we take a holistic view and understand how things and sectors relate to each other and how they influence one another. And in the energy sector, we speak about a policy ambition to unlock whole system solutions to achieve a 2035 net zero energy system. And we want to start thinking about the whole system value of innovation and how we can break down some of the barriers to cross-sector collaboration and coordination. So we go on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, each sector has its own funding support, and there is a ton of resources and funding available, and I'm sure I haven't managed to capture everything on this slide. But what you are seeing is the programmes, all of these are open for calls, or they have existing projects that are open. Today, we're going to focus primarily on the Strategic Innovation Fund and the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero's innovation programme. But I maybe just want to call out a few, just in case you're not aware of this. So if we just start on power and hydrogen, there are a number of funds that are available. Another one that I will call out is the Network Innovation Allowance. This is for smaller scale energy network projects. And energy networks also have access to business as usual funding. And my colleague from the EIC, Matt Popple, will comment a little bit on this later on. There's also UKRI's Horizon funding, which actually at the moment has specific calls out for things like offshore wind solutions. So I'd encourage you to look at that. We've got Innovate UK's Net Zero Living programme, which is focused on place-based decarbonisation solutions. A couple of others that I will just call out is Innovate UK's Bridge AI programme. That's all focused around data and digital and how we can harness AI to unlock its full potential. I won't go into many more of these in detail now, but what I will say, if there's any on this page that you want to find out more information or you're struggling to find out information, I'll let you know at the end how we can how to get in touch so we can give you that. I just want to also say that we on this SIF team are looking at ways that we can better coordinate funds to help them come together. And something that I think it's really worth acknowledging is that we definitely know that the playing field needs to be leveled so that we can make it simpler for businesses to find out about this information and the funds that are available. And this is kind of why we're doing the session today. If we go on to the next slide. Great. So I've mentioned a few times now about the Strategic Innovation Fund. Well, what is it? So SIF, is for short, is a partnership between Ofgem and Innovate UK. And we have £450 million to over 5 years to look at energy network innovation. Now, we've already awarded just under 19 million, and we actually just announced about 95 million yesterday. So there's still a ton of money available. And the SIF comes from energy bill payers like you and me, and it's really designed to help drive energy network innovation so that we can meet those net zero targets and deliver benefit back to energy bill payers. So we have an open call at the moment for SIF. Any ideas that do come through this must be within the remit of the energy networks, but all ideas must create benefits for energy network users and consumers to deliver this whole system value that I mentioned. One thing I must mention is that SIF must be led by energy networks, but they have to team up with other partners, and SIF challenges cut across many sectors, like I said, and it can explore these projects across these sectors that we mentioned. Next slide, please. So SIP has 3 areas of focus. Alignment is all about how we can work with funders across different government bodies, devolved administrations, that sort of thing, to develop complementary projects so that we can get the best outcomes for all sectors. We also have so many great examples of this. We've seen things coming through the vehicle to grid program from DESNZ that have then moved into the SIF. We've seen a number of projects that have come from Innovate UK's Prospering for Energy Revolution, which have then evolved into a SIF project. And we're also seeing funds that are going between the water sector and the energy sector that are looking at digital solutions to fault management. We're in a unique position within the SIF team as some of the barriers that might come up during innovation projects might require regulatory change. So in the SIF team, for projects that go through, we actually allocate a policy lead so that we can work through regulatory change with the project as we go through, so that when we get to the end, it can be implemented into business as usual as quickly as possible. Now, the way that we do that, in the middle box, you'll see, we set annual challenges, and these challenges focus on barriers to achieving net zero. And we engage with a bunch of people across these sectors that we mentioned earlier. And these challenges really focus on what needs to be delivered in that given year. So we structure the SIF in a way that we start with a feasibility, the discovery phase, an alpha, which is a prototype and testing, and a beta, which is the full-on demonstration. So the reason I'm telling you that is there's multiple opportunities for you to get involved at different stages with SIF. But the idea that we want to do is bringing in ideas from other sectors, other funds, so that we can get the best projects. But we also start with higher volumes of projects and then narrow it down to really the best of the best. Finally, on commercialization, we do a lot to support our innovators. We have a dedicated commercialization team, and they include and offer customized advice to help innovators scale up and look at things like investment and international routes to market. Go on to the next slide. Thank you. So just to mention those annual challenges for this year, these are the challenges that we currently have in the SIF round. The first is around whole system planning and improving the planning connection process. The second is around scaling of technologies and processes to deliver market technologies and a fair net zero electrical system. The third is about flexible electric heat demand and how we can plan on the network better for things like flexibility. And the last is about unlocking system benefits for things like long duration storage and the potential for power to gas. Now, these challenges, right now, we're looking for ideas in this space. There is specific criteria against each of these challenges, and I'll share a little bit more on that in a moment. For now, I want to share I want to hand over to my colleague Matt Popple. He's the stakeholder engagement lead at Energy Innovation Centre. He's about to share some really absolute nuggets on the services that they offer. So I hope this is really useful. Matt, over to you.
Well, thanks very much, Kate. Absolutely no pressure whatsoever there. You've built me up quite well, I think. We can go on to the next slide if you like. So I think first and foremost, very many thanks from the EIC to the hosts for having us on the call today. And like Kate has said, I hope that the audience finds the information I'm about to share really useful in sort of whatever avenue they're taking within innovation across the energy sector. Next slide, please. So for those of you who are uninitiated with the EIC in itself is a solitary organisation, but we're sort of more than that. We're a partnership across several of the distribution and transmission networks in gas and electricity, as you see at the bottom of the screen there. So the partnership itself, our mission is to create an environment that allows great businesses and innovators, big and small, to openly innovate together. So we are effectively an open platform for people, SMEs, innovators, irrespective of the size, to come to us with your projects, your proposals, your innovations, your great nuggets, as Kate would say, for us to evaluate and then potentially put to the partners at the bottom of the screen. So a little bit of history about the partnership itself. We're a not-for-profit, which has been established for about 15 years. And we facilitate collaboration not only between yourselves and the partners, but between each other as well, because we often find that an innovator can come to us with a 60-70% solution. So then we facilitate collaboration between innovators as well to work on projects and collaborate across the spectrum. We've got a proven process of taking ideas from that initial proposal into development and then onto BAU. And we're really proud of the fact that we've got an 85% success rate in sourcing solutions for our partners. And by that, I mean, if a partner comes to us with a specific issue or problem that they need to resolve, we've got an 85% hit rate in finding a solution to that particular problem. And one of the things that we're doing across the partnership currently is creating an ongoing program to improve the innovator's journey, not just within the partnership, but across the sector as well. And I'll touch on that a bit more later on. Below those blue squares, there are some quite sort of large figures, and I'll take you through them very quickly. Over the last 15 years, we've managed to advertise 200 challenges over the last 15 years, which is obviously a sort of a great success rate. We've got £50 million brokered to date. And by that, I mean, we've had £50 million worth of investment across the different projects over the 15 years from our network partners. We've got over 20 projects that we expect to transition into BAU in RIIO2, which we're really excited about. And from those projects, we anticipate that there'll be over £200 million worth of financial benefits delivered to our partners. And by way of introduction and a nice segue, our partners on the bottom of the screen there, in terms of distribution networks, we've got SPEN, UKPN, Northern Power Grid, and SSEN. We've got the gas guys in the middle with NGen and Gas Networks Ireland. And then on the right-hand side, then it's National Grid, SSEN Transmission, and SPEN Transmission as well. Next slide, please. So more specifically about what we do here in the EIC as an organisation, and we facilitate on behalf of the partnership. As I've already stated, we bring innovators and the partners together, and we've got a great deal of experience in facilitating and sourcing cost-effective transformation innovations. We've got a really sort of impactful panel called the Innovator Impact Panel. So we work together as one voice within the innovation community, and we've got the proven ability to affect change and influence future regulation. And this Innovator Impact Panel was really important, actually, when NIA was up for review in a previous iteration. And it's the IIP, or the Innovator Impact Panel, had a great deal of influence with the regulator in retaining that particular funding mechanism. Our global innovation community provides the industry with access to problem solvers and cutting edge ideas and specialist skills. So it's not only innovators here in the UK that work with us or work with the partners, but it's actually across the globe. And as I've already stated, we're a not-for-profit. So yes, we've got a unique and open environment for innovators to work with us. But something I want to stress here, in terms of not-for-profit, it's not just a nice to have or a nice phrase to say. What does not-for-profit mean to you, the audience, to the innovators? Well, actually, we're already funded, so we're free. Everything we put on for you, the innovator, not the partners, but everything we put on for the innovators is free. So any support that we offer you, we're never going to ask for any subscription charges or any sort of one-off payments. So everything you access through us is completely free of charge. And I think we're quite guilty, actually, of not stressing that enough at the EIC. Next slide, please. So in terms of what specifically do we offer, and this is just a flavour of what the EIC can do for you. For people that are new to the sector or new to innovation, we have the Ultimate Guide to Innovation, which pretty much says what it does on the cover there on the tin. Version 2 of that is currently being drafted. We hold fund discovery sessions, and we've just launched the funding landscape, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide. We've got in-house counsel, which provides legal and intellectual property guidance to innovators. The crux of what we do then are our calls and proposals on the top right of the screen there, which is almost like a push and pull system for innovation across the sector. And it's something that we're really proud of. The calls is when essentially a network partner comes to us with an issue across the network. We sort of create a problem statement with that partner, and then we put that out to our global innovation community. So we put that call out for innovation, to which then the innovation community responds, and we source and develop a solution to that issue. In terms of proposals, we have a system whereby if you've got an innovation, an idea and a concept that you wish to put to the networks, then you can come through us by uploading that proposal through our hub. We review it internally, and then if it falls within the sort of the challenge categories or the issues that the network partners are looking for, you can then pitch that proposal directly to one of our partners at one of our quarterly forums. So that's the calls and proposals is a very open gateway to accessing the network partners. We offer pitching support, which is something, again, that we've rolled out quite recently. So you can come to us and speak to us about your pitch, your presentation. That doesn't necessarily have to be with something that you're doing with or interacting with us, with the EIC. We're happy to help if you've got a pitch for SIF, for example, or any other funding mechanism that you might be looking at in the future. We've got a live testing facilities map on the Innovator support website, on our website. We've got industry feedback and escalation, which is extremely important to us because your feedback on how you interact and how you innovate with the partners and across the sector helps us develop and guide the sector to better their interactions with you. So it's really important that if you've got an issue, it's something you wish to escalate, or indeed positive feedback, you can come to us and we collate it, analyze it, and then we feed that back directly to the partners. And that's influenced a lot of work that we're doing this year. And we're one of the few organizations, I believe, that offer project support and guidance throughout the entire life cycle of your project. So when you come to us and a proposal is accepted by a network, for example, we will then support you throughout the entire process up until it goes to commercialization and it transitions into BAU. So there's 8 sort of support services there that we feel are always of great benefit to innovators, irrespective of what stage they're at within the industry. And at the bottom of the screen there, just a shout out to the Innovator Insight Survey, which took place in 2022, and the action plan roadmap that we're rolling out currently. So that's 15 action points that came as a result of that feedback that you've given us, all designed to increase the pace of deployment and the quality of innovation across the sector, not just the partnership. Next slide, please. So I said I'd touch a bit more about funding, and as Kate mentioned earlier as well about NIA. NIA is one of our primary funding mechanisms here at the EIC, with obviously a heavy focus on consumers in vulnerable situations and on net zero. But we also have projects ongoing with VCMA and BAU. But what I'm going to touch on here is one of the support mechanisms in a bit more detail, and that's the funding landscape. So the innovator support page we've got, which is on the left-hand side there, and I've circled two particular elements to do with funding on that page. So the first is the funding landscape, which is in the IMAC. And what I've developed there alongside our friends at Ixion Innovation, which are part of the Shaw Trust, is a landscape of all different funding mechanisms that are available to people, innovators in the energy sector. And we've mapped that in accordance with what TRL your particular project, concept, innovation is at. So you can look at the funding landscape and work out from that what funding mechanisms are most appropriate to you. What we also do at the EIC is run one-to-one sessions with innovators. So myself and Perry from Ixion Innovation will sit down with you, work out exactly what your requirements are, what your business needs are, what your business looks like, and where you want to go next. And we'll identify, hopefully, a funding mechanism for you to investigate. And then obviously it's within your gift to proceed as you would individually, or you can utilize the experience and expertise at Ixion Innovation. Next slide, please. Not to blow our own trumpet too much, but this slide here sort of details some of the things that innovators have said about the EIC. So obviously 87% of respondents believe that GDNs and DINOs should continue to work with us, which is a great figure. We're always working to improve that, of course. And I won't labour the quotes there too much, but they all sort of dip into different sort of items where we've assisted innovators and we continue to assist innovators. So with Akshat there, it's about giving him feedback on the innovation so he could sort of tailor his project more towards the networks. With Vicky, it's about engaging with the energy networks. So I talked about being that open door, that sort of conduit to our partners. With Kate, I think it was about belief with Kate and ensuring that the partners realised the importance of what Outram were doing. And then finally there with Simon, it's about the legal and financial terms. So it's about IP, it's about legal terminology, where we can be of great assistance to you in providing guidance on that particular aspect, which can be quite confusing and daunting for a lot of innovators. Next slide, please. So to finish with a flourish and to have a sort of a call to action for everybody on the call here in terms of the innovators, come and check us out at ukeic.com. As I've already said, we're an open door and we're constantly evolving our support mechanisms for you. So if there's something that we're not doing, please let us know and we'll put that into place. But yeah, come check us out. I'll put a link to the UK EIC in the chat. And if you've got any questions for me, I'll be around until the end. Thank you very much. And I believe, Kate, back over to you.
Yes, thanks, Matt. Thank you for that. I hope you're seeing how we work together in this sort of innovation ecosystem here. I just wanted to kind of touch on this point around like which fund do you go to and how do you know which one to navigate before we go to our next speaker. So as Matt said, EIC offer a funding discovery service, and EIC are funding agnostic, if you like. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, which one do I go to? I think it's important to know that EIC have other other funds that they can access. So it's worth checking that out. But if it's a SIF related project, you can come directly to us as well. Before we move on, I just want to touch on a few points around which Energy Network Innovation Fund is better to go to. So if your technology, if you have an innovation that the technology needs have been developed and you think that it meets the needs of the networks, it'd be definitely worth you checking out our previous webinars as we shared some examples of this, particularly around like data and digital and technical solutions. The SIF or the Network Innovation Allowance, NIA, might be the better option for you. If more broadly, you have a core technology, let's say a heat pump, a charge point, that is already working and the technology itself is developed, but you're having some difficulties getting this integrated into the energy system. This is where SIF really comes in on its own here. As I mentioned before, that we have Ofgem policy leads to help us work through some of this regulation and market changes that need to happen. Or perhaps there's things like around like connections process. How do we work to accommodate more low carbon technology, or look at things like flexibility services? SIF would be suitable for you if you're looking for that integration. And it's important to say that barriers can relate to social, regulation frameworks, market, or some of the technical solutions that are in the remit of the energy networks. I kind of think as like a general rule of thumb, network innovation allowance is the smaller, shorter projects, whereas the SIF is the longer and bigger projects. Obviously, that is a general definition of that. So I mentioned earlier that we had some great examples of funding alignment, and one of those funding alignment routes is the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero's innovation programme. So we have my colleague from Carbon Trust, Rhiannon Turner, to share a little bit more about that and give you some insights. So for now, I'll hand to Rhiannon.
Thank you very much, Kate, and thanks also to Matt before. It's really interesting to hear about the work that's going on at EIC. It sounds great. So my name's Rhiannon Turner. I'm a senior manager at the Carbon Trust, and I act as an acceleration manager within a thing called the NZIP Accelerator, which we run on behalf of the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And I oversee delivery of all workshops and webinars within the NZIP One-to-Many programme support. Next slide, please. So the Net Zero Innovation Portfolio, or NZIP, is the UK government's more than £1 billion innovation funding initiative committed through to March 2025. It was announced in 2020 as part of the 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution, and it aims to accelerate the commercialisation of low carbon technologies, systems and business models in power buildings and industry. And one objective is to stimulate private sector investment through match funding. A variety of projects are funded, with more than 200 SMEs to be included overall, excuse me, across 10 technology themes, as shown on this slide. The majority of funding is committed, and the first NZIP report is now available and is linked there on the slide. Is really readable. It gives a good sense of the objectives of the programme across the technology areas. So although most of the SME programmes have already closed to applications, although there are a few exceptions that I'll come on to, further rounds of NZIP funding are expected from 2024, so do keep a lookout for opportunities. And I also recommend taking a look at the NZIP website to understand what where government funding priorities lie within NZIP, and that can help you sort of build the programme into your fundraising strategy. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, the funding's been provided across that range of technologies. We can make these slides available, I believe, after the session, and the links included in this one provide more information about each area, and they're also accessible through the main NZIP page. Different technologies and different types of company and different commercial readiness levels have all been funded across each area. So if you're working on a technology which would fit within one of these categories, do keep a watch out for future NZIP funding rounds. Funding within the energy storage and flexibility area is still open, as highlighted green there, in the Flexible Innovation Programme. This seeks to enable large-scale, widespread electricity system flexibility through smart, flexible, secure and accessible technologies and markets, with around 2.6 million still available through the current funding call. Next slide. If you are an SME in receipt of funding through NZIP, you're entitled to more than just the funding. Each NZIP funded SME can access the NZIP Accelerator, which provides companies with business support to commercialise their technology, including the funded project. A detailed needs analysis is carried out with each company to identify skills and knowledge gaps. Areas of required support are identified, and then they're delivered across the 6 key themes, which are shown and summarised on this slide. For example, we can provide market analysis and customer profiling support, business modelling, or support to develop your route to market strategy. We support team development and board structuring activities. We can provide support to develop your financial model, along with help to access funding and investment, including development of your pitch and investor materials. We hold investor engagement events at several points during the programme. And we can support with development of IP strategy, branding, PR strategy, as well as providing general support to optimise your business processes and controls, including with tax and legal advice. Each company has a dedicated acceleration manager who gets to know the company and its needs well through regular contact, and then support's provided through a mixture of bespoke one-to-one tasks, along with a range of one-to-many events. And those include webinars, workshops, techno-market working groups, investor events, showcasing, networking, all of these taking place both in person and virtually. And companies are reporting a range of benefits from involvement in the accelerator, including being able to access high quality expert advice at no cost to the company, as well as developing their network of peers and potential collaboration partners. Next slide, please. And the consortium of companies that's involved in delivering the NSIF Accelerator is really broad and includes some big names, as you can see here. We've got technical, design, communications, IP, legal, tax, and strategic support, and these are all available within the consortium from highly expert teams. So if you're an SME who has been or is funded within NSIP, all of this support is available to you free of charge. So please ensure that you're receiving the support that you're entitled to. Next slide. Finally, so please do take a look at the links which are included in these slides to gain a sense of the technologies that are likely to be supported in upcoming NSIP funding rounds. I've mentioned that the Flex Markets Unlocked innovation programme is still open, but please note that expressions of interest are due next week and applications are due by the 7th of August. So time is tight, and if you think it might be relevant to you, do get your skates on with it. And finally, I emphasise to ensure that you are receiving that support that you're entitled to if you've been funded through NSIP. The high quality and importantly free support could hugely enhance your ability to actually commercialise your technology. If you're unsure about whether you qualify, please contact us via the email address that's shown on the slide to discuss the support that might be available. So thank you very much, and I'm now handing you back over to Kate. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhiannon. Thanks. I think it's also worth saying that a lot of the findings from the NSIP have really informed some of the challenges that we've had in SIF and are now developing new projects on the back of the outcomes that have been identified around certain problem statements. So, for example, you've mentioned the heat pump ready. I think I briefly mentioned this before, but it's looking at dense uptake of heat pump and of heat pumps, and that's going to have a significant impact on the energy network. And what we want to see is people that are coming through some of these channels coming through to SIF and exploring the idea further, so any findings can be actually embedded and used by the energy networks going forward. So thank you very much. It's just a reminder to everybody, if you have any questions so far, please put them in the Q&A box, and we will have time for that at the end. So just before I hand over to my colleague Ben, I just want to sort of introduce that we've spoken a bit about the funds and what other services are available from energy networks and more broadly. What we wanted to cover here is a little bit about the services and mentorships and coaching that's available to help you scale up your ideas. I think it's also worth sort of mentioning that there are other examples of solutions, such as Scottish Enterprise have a business development support. There's investor opportunities through the Department for Business and Trade. You've got Scottish Development International also has many opportunities. So there is loads out there. So for now, I'd like to hand over to Ben to talk about Innovate Edge and the services that his team offer. Thanks, Ben. Oh,
Hi there. I'm gonna do the introduction quickly. I'm Nick Pollinger. I'm head of service design and engagement at Innovate UK Edge. I'll hand over to Ben shortly afterwards to take you through a bit more of the detail. But it's good to be here. SIF are a team in Innovate UK. We work with hand in glove in the interest of our clients, our many and varied clients across all sectors. But so as was mentioned earlier, Innovate UK Edge is about that wraparound support. It's available to both winners of Innovate UK awards, grant funding, and those who aren't. We service about half of our clients are and half aren't Innovate UK grant winners. So we're very keen to hear from businesses who might think they're available. Might think they're eligible for our service. So what is Innovate UK Edge? Basically, it's all based around supporting a business and its particular needs. It's one-to-one support that's tailored to individual businesses, and involves a innovation and growth specialist, who's someone who's typically walked in the shoes of businesses themselves, and have great knowledge about growing and scaling and all of the elements that need to come together to make that possible for a business. So they may get involved at the time of a grant award, or they may get involved at any growth episode that a business is undergoing. Because the main thing for us is to have impact by working with you. So we work with the leadership teams at our clients to understand the business, their challenges, and develop a commercial strategy and structure that can take the business forward so it grows and ultimately scales. We do tend to work after looking at the business in the round with our clients. Incidentally, this is a publicly funded service. We tend to work in three areas, focus on three areas, including innovation management, finance and funding strategy, and expanding into international markets. And Ben will take you through those three pillars of our service. But please do consider it as something that we work with in the round with the business. And it's never just one thing or the other. It's often a combination of things, but they tend to be the three areas we focus on. So if you go on to the next slide, please, Ben. So we are a national service. So we run from the centre nationally, but we are available, and we have 350 innovation and growth specialists and scale-up directors, which we'll get onto later as well, across the country. So based near to you. And the idea is that they can come in and get to know you as a business and help you drive the success of your business. The other thing to mention is that almost uniquely in this area, we've got this great regional connectivity. So our specialists are very well connected and embedded in their regional ecosystems, so they can help find support that may be local to you, and help you build your markets both regionally and nationally. Because as you've heard, Innovate UK has great resources on a national level to help innovation-focused businesses succeed, and we can tap into those. And beyond that, we can take you to international markets through our network of partnerships with similar organisations who can help you forge business partnerships or research and development partnerships with organisations in other countries. And in total, we work with over 7,000 businesses a year, about half of those on an intensive one-to-one basis. The other half is more about lighter touch signposting or information about regulations that you may need to understand to move your business forward. If I can have the next slide, please, Ben. So I'm going to hand over to Ben now, but I just wanted to have just say something very quickly before I do about eligibility, because that comes up quite a lot in conversations with businesses who like to know, well, who do we take on? Well, in first instance, we only work with SMEs, so that's businesses up to 500 employees. But in Northern Ireland, it's slightly different. That's 250. Businesses have to be already established. So we're not talking about concepts or startups that have just been created, but typically they have a track record. They're showing positive signs of growth, ideally around the 20% rate, combined average growth rate annually. But of course, that will vary on the sector that we're talking about and the particular environments that businesses are working in. The companies have to be UK registered as well. I'm sure this is the case amongst this audience, but the businesses would, the management and leadership of the businesses really need to be committed to the growth, ultimately scaling of their business to get the most out of this service. So I'm going to hand over to Ben to talk you through the pillars in a bit more detail.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So yeah, as we sort of mentioned, our support sort of falls under three sort of key pillars, and one of them is innovation management. So this is where our specialists would work with you to develop an innovation culture within your company. Another way is to exploit and protect IP. We have quite good connections with the Intellectual Property Office, so we can sort of really help you there. And then we also have other connections across different parts of the innovation ecosystem, which is through the catapults, various laboratories, and the British Standards Institute. And then another thing is helping you with ensuring market readiness. So that's by sort of validating your technology, identifying maybe your USP, and sort of helping you understand your market potential. The next one is funding and finance. So quite a large part of the businesses are coming to us for financial support, and our role really is to help them understand what's the right type of finance for them, and also help them sort of get ready for investment. So one of the things we've mentioned there is pitch panel and investability. So these are really good opportunities to come and work on pitch skills, and also what you'll end up doing is presenting to a group of investors, and you'll get some feedback on that. And that sort of ties into another sort of part of this service, which is connecting you with sort of communities of investors, which can be really beneficial for when you're looking to sort of grow and seek out funding. And the next one, so international networks and expansion. So this is where we'd be liaising with our international peer organisations, and we help you sort of understand potential markets and identify your competitive advantage, which can help you sort of achieve international success. We also offer access to focused B2B events, which is great for international and innovation sort of opportunities. And another thing you might have heard of is the Global Business Innovation Programmes, which we run sort of in partnership with different parts of Innovate UK. And that's a really great opportunity for you to meet people in person in different countries all over the world, and sort of understand their environment and how you could sort of access their markets. And yeah, we've had some really good feedback from those, especially getting to sort of meet people and talk to them in person, I think has been really valuable. And then so the next slide, so this is about the Scale Up programme, which it kind of sits at the apex of our support. And this is really sort of focused support for people that are looking for serious fundraising and international expansion. Because of how focused the support is, we look to work with about 200 companies on the Scale Up programme every year. And that's delivered by a board of 22 Scale Up directors. And we've got quite a good case study that we'd like to share with you. So yeah, this is ICACs, who are developing sort of ground and air source heat pumps, and were invited onto the Scale Up programme in 2019. And yeah, they've essentially worked with them very closely and sort of helped them understand what it is that they need. And yeah, they sort of assisted them with developing like a commercial product that they could then move on and sort of access new markets. And yeah, I think the bottom line, from under 2 million turnover, it's accelerating to projected 6.5 million. It really shows the benefit of working on the Scale Up programme and the sort of companies that we're working with. And then yeah, the final slide here is there's many ways to contact us. We have the National Inquiry Gateway, which is a really great way to just sort of have some questions answered. If you have received an Innovate UK grant, you will have been contacted by an innovation and growth specialist, and part of that sort of wraparound support is that they will then work with you to help you, really sort of get the benefits of your grant. And then if not, please feel free to visit our website, and you'll be able to find out quite a lot more about what we can offer.
And it's probably just worth rounding off by also saying that what we presented sounds, it's quite a lot to fit into 10 minutes, but it sounds a bit like a sweetie shop. But really the heart of the offer is this one-to-one relationship that if you're eligible and it's decided that we can have impact by working with you, it's that relationship that really, that's what it's all about, the support. And all of the extra resources we've mentioned and the programs we deliver and the access to resources we have, that all depends on your particular situation, and you'll work with your specialist to understand what's going to be best for you. So it's not a splurge, a scattergun approach. It's very focused and targeted from that initial action plan all the way through to achieving impact. So don't be intimidated by the array of things that we've just flashed up on screen.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Nicholas. That was really, really interesting. I think just while we're swapping the slides, I just really want to labour this point about the Global Business Innovation Programme. There's a ton of energy-related ones right now, and this is a really good opportunity. Like I think this is amazing that we offer this as a service, where you can, like Ben said, go out to these other countries, learn about certain types of technologies. Like I said, there's a ton. There's around vehicle to grid and energy and resilience. So they're available, and I would really encourage everybody to take a look at that. Just coming on to the last couple of slides here. So if we just flip on one slide, please. Great. So as I mentioned earlier, if there's, the slide deck will be shared, the recording will be shared, but if there's any services or programs that you're struggling to find information on, and you want to hear more, please reach out to us and we can help you with that. But you can also get in touch directly if you want to ask for any introductions from the speakers today as well. So I just want to make a final plug on the Strategic Innovation Fund. So we have those challenges that I mentioned earlier. They are live. You can find more information on that from ofgem.gov.uk/SIF, SIF. And if you have an idea that you think is ready to progress to this next stage, then I would love to see your application coming through our call for ideas process. So that is just a short form to help you secure energy network sponsorship. You can also utilise the services that Matt had also shared at the start there around the Energy Innovation Centre. But suitable ideas that come through this will help you partner with the energy networks as well. So you do need an energy network on board to have a full application for SIF, but we can help with that connection. So the call for ideas is open now until the 21st of August. We do have a closing date next week as well, but we have 2 more to go. So one next week, one at the end of August, and that will close for this year. Last slide from me. I appreciate there's been a ton of links, information shared. There's a lot of information out there. The SIF programme do a lot to try and share some of the relevant stuff to our challenges and projects that we have through our newsletter. But we also have a ton of media out there with podcasts, YouTube channels and the likes. But if you're interested specifically in the SIF, my recommendation to you is to sign up to our newsletter. We don't bombard you. It's there to inform on a monthly basis. So for now, though, I think what we'll do is we'll take any questions if there is any. Have a look. Okay, so I think there's one, and we'll give it a couple of minutes to see if anybody has any questions. We've shared a lot of information, which I hope has been super, super useful. Are we allowed to append our application after submitting next week? So the application, if you're referring to the SIF, we don't expect the call for ideas submission to be the fully worked up project. So what we like to do with the SIF is, if you have an idea that's relevant to one of those challenges, we work with you and the energy networks to develop that idea. So for example, we have some partnership requirements around, and you might not have them in board, say, for the deadline next week. So we fully expect before the application of funding to work and develop a really strong project. So you can't append it in the sense add in a file after it's submitted, but it's not the final product at the call for ideas stage. Okay, I'll give it one more minute and see if we get any questions. And thanks, Nicholas and Matt, for sharing those links there, but they are in the slide deck as well. Okay, maybe I'll come to you for the question that we've just got in, Matt. Lots of good advice here. Where's the best starting point for a very new SME without the track record that's been mentioned? Co-founders have an interesting track record, but in other places, not in the new SME. So where's the best place to start for an SME in the energy network space?
Well, I might be a little bit biased in terms of my response, but I would strongly suggest you'd initially have a conversation with us at the EIC. Even if we can't necessarily help you at the EIC, as we've already discussed today, there are so many different organisations and sort of support mechanisms out there. It may well be a case that we signpost you to UKRI or the Carbon Trust or the ENA, or you know, even to Ofgem, if the proposal is more inclined in terms of regulatory framework. So start at the EIC, I would suggest. We'll do our very best to help you and guide you along the way. But as Kate has rightly said, there's an awful lot of information out there to sort of hang your hook on and hang your hat on. So yeah, that's probably my answer.
Thanks, Matt. And I think it's just also worth saying from a SIF point of view, you know, if one of the projects that comes through the call for ideas isn't relevant to the challenges, where possible, we do try to point you to other funds, other sources. It's not just a straight no. And that's the same from the EIC point of view as well. Okay.
Just to add from the EDGE point of view as well. I mean, we'd encourage anyone to get in touch. And I mentioned the half of businesses we support that don't get the intensive support or don't want it. But we do a degree of signposting to resources that may be in your region, growth hubs, for example, that may be able to tackle certain fundamental issues about startups. And of course, Innovate UK, KTN, which will have many communities focused on particular sectors and subsectors that is also worth checking out.
Thanks, Nicholas. Okay, I think we haven't got any more questions through, so we can end the... Oh, we just got one straight through. At what stage should we try to get a partnership with DSOs during the application? So if this is about a SIF application, before you can apply for funding, you need sponsorship from an energy network. So the call for ideas process works by, if you have a potential idea, you can submit that through the call for ideas. It's a really, really short form. I think it's 11 questions, including your name. The suitable ideas will be pitched to the energy networks through the SIF, and then sponsorship can be gained. If you go through EIC, Matt, would you like to comment on that one?
Yes, certainly. So it works a little bit differently with us in terms of how we work. So with us, your proposal comes into us initially if it's not to do with a particular call for innovation. So if it's not in response to a very specific call to innovation from a partner or partners, your proposal comes into us through our hub. and then we review it internally before potentially putting that then to our partners. And it's at that point then that relationship with the DSOs, DNOs, and GDNs will potentially progress.
Thanks, Matt. And then there's just one more question that's come in. So is there a limitation towards the number of applications a company can submit? There isn't, but there are limits to the number of pitching slots that are available. And that's just due to the volume that we get in. So there is a filtering process that happens with a panel. Is there an available list of emails? No, there isn't available list of emails that we share through the SIF. If there's a specific project that you'd like to be introduced to, then we can do that, and the contact emails in the slide deck. Okay. If we've got no more questions, I'd just like to thank again all the speakers from today, and we can close the session there.